do a brief introduction. Let me just know your name and where you're joining us from for tonight's class. Your name and where you're joining us from for tonight's class. Just drop it for me in the comment section and let's have a lively class tonight. Your name and where you're joining from in the comment section. I think our first audience here with a name and location is from Ghana. And I think that is Kafi Dafi. Good evening, Kafi. Felix from Enugu, you're welcome. Dari is from Nigeria. It's good to have you. Bright is from Ghana also. My Ghanaian brothers are plenty here. It's good to have you. And I have John from Jos. It's good to have you also. Frank is also from Ghana. Godwin from looks like my Ghanaian brothers are plenty here. Oh God, I beg. Emmanuel Chidebere from from Ogun State, John from Lagos, Yusuf from Lagos, Kenny from Lagos. What's happening? It's like everybody's from Lagos. I've not seen my Abuja brothers. Am I the only person from Abuja here? Lawrence from Asaba, good to have you. Anita from Lagos, Tosin from Ogun, good to have you also. Samuel from Niger, Phineas from Ghana, Raphael from Lagos, good to have you. Tolu from Lagos. Constant is also from Lagos. I see Sani from Kano State. Sani from Kano State, good to have you. Looks like we have too many Lagos people here. Oh. Lagos, no they carry last. And I see Fumilola from Ekiti, Fisayo. Fisayo, it's good to have you also. Somehow, I'm also from Ekiti State. So let me bust that. So finally, I've seen my sister from the same mother. Good to have you. So thank you, everybody. It's nice to have you all right here. Okay, so I think our slot for this class is almost filled up. We have 100 participants already. If perchance you're unable to join for any reason, I think you can also watch us live from YouTube. You can join us from YouTube. We'll be sharing the link also between we'll be sharing the link with you in the WhatsApp group. So you can also use that to follow along while on YouTube. Surely is also from Ghana. And I promise that tonight's class is going to be very, very, very interesting. Let's just follow along, and I promise to not waste our time too much. Okay, so we can get started in earnest. I think we've done 5 minutes of introduction. That is more than enough. So once again, my name is Timothy, and I'll be your host and tutor for tonight's class and subsequent classes. Sorry, I don't know if my voice is clear enough. I am battling with a little bit of cold, and I think in my head my voice is a little bit uh, awkward, kind of. All right. So I shared, I think for the last 2 days, I've shared some link, a link, not some, a particular link with you on how to create dashboard in Excel, right? I don't know if anyone right here has seen it. I'm not in Canada. Oh. I'm in cold Nigeria. Please, if you have seen if you have watched the tutorial on how to create dashboard, right, just drop for me a comment. Okay, you saw the link. Kenneth said he saw the link. Anybody else? Okay. I think we have a few people who have actually taken time to watch it. So I want to give somebody, just one person, to opportunity to unmute and tell me one thing that you learned from watching that tutorial. If you are that one person, if you are that one person that wants to unmute and tell us what you learned from that tutorial, how do you want to signify now? Let me know in the comments. You want to share your thoughts with us? Let me know in the comments. So I will give you opportunity to unmute, and then you can tell us exactly what you learned from watching the tutorial. God, we said I did not eat Ghanaian jollof. This war you're about to start, please, please don't start it. All right, Sadiku wants to try. Um, I'm going to give you opportunity to unmute. All right, please go ahead and unmute Sadiku. Go ahead and unmute and tell us what you learned from watching.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, from the video shared, yeah, I actually learned a lot. Yeah, learned though the creation of the dashboard has been there, but to create a pivot table to link the pivot table using slicer and to work on the dashboard, it's really a fantastic stuff. So it's really a fantastic one. So in a nutshell, I've learned how to use slicer on dashboard. So, and to create a pivot table linking those slicers together, you know, basically that's what I've learned on it.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you actually watched it. All right, thank you very much. I think Felix, let's give Felix the opportunity to also give it a try. Felix, you can go ahead and
I think
unmute.
the guy went further than I did. I watched. I mean, I learned how to use pivot table to come up with different analysis model. I didn't. I was not able to go beyond that. So that's why I said I think it's gone beyond me. But I really enjoy the fact that I could use pivot table to form different scenarios, and then play around with data in different forms. That's what I really picked there.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll give Bright the last chance, and then I'm going to take one question from somebody who also watched the tutorial. Then we can get started with what we have to for today. So, Bright, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, so I basically learned some few things from the video. One thing I learned is how to sort your data according to, let's say, the smallest to the highest when you're trying to create, let's say, a chart on your dashboard. And also, one thing I also learned from it is when you're creating a dashboard, there are certain figures you don't have to put on it. I don't know, figure, yeah, labels actually you don't have to put on it. Let's say if you want to distinguish between a gross profit and then a net profit, and then there are two colors in the bar. Sometimes you have to put it there, but if they are, it's just a gross profit that you are trying to, showcase. You don't have to just put the colors, the label colors under it. I don't know how we call it. I don't know the term. I've forgotten. But there's these are the few things I basically learned from it and some other rules. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I love that you talked about something different from what the other two have mentioned. So thank you very much. And I do hope that before the end of this class, irrespective of our prior experience, would all go home with one more lessons, at least one more lesson from tonight's class. So I'm going to take one question. I'm going to take one more question, and okay, so let me take two, and then we can get started with what we have for tonight. Kofi said he has a question concerning the dashboard.
Okay, thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. Good evening to everybody.
Good evening.
Mine is after watching the video, first
Okay.
of all, I realized that there is a pre-tempo. There is a tempo that you are blocking the graphs on. As in, you are pasting the graphs on.
Okay.
But unfortunately for me, I didn't follow the lesson where you taught people how to do the template. So I
Okay.
don't know if I can have the chance to have that video and also learn.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir.
I think No problem. I'm going to answer that question. Adeola, I think you're going to be the last question I'm going to take. After that, we can, I'll answer both questions together and then we can call it a wrap.
Yeah, can you hear me? Good evening.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, my question is actually similar to Ease, but now I am more interested in: are we going to get the opportunity to see how you created that frame that you transferred your charts to, or better still, can we get it so we can use it in the future subsequently? That's my question. Yeah, and I watched the whole video. I watched to the last 15 minutes before I go carried
It's all
away.
right. It's all right. All right. So well done to everybody that tried. Um, so the purpose of the whole thing is that we at least learn something. And I'm going to just answer the last two questions, which are basically the same question. In creating dashboards, okay, so it depends on whoever is teaching you or who your tutor is. Let me put it that way. From my own perspective, or what I believe is, dashboard can be styled in different formats and in different ways, right? And if you notice from the beginning of the class, I was asking some people to share with me the templates that they had or the template they created. And what happened was the week prior to that class, they had an assignment. It was more or less like an assignment, and the assignment was to create three different templates, right? And giving them two. Okay, so I gave them two samples. Then they are supposed to create the third one by themselves with their own imagination, from their own imagination. Okay, so I just decided to look for one of those templates. I could have, I also have some templates with me. I just could have, let's use mine. But then I also wanted them to see it from the perspective of, how do I put it now? Or from the perspective of, this is not just our tutor's design. This is our own design, and this person is making use of it, is adjusting it. Is you are seeing the way it's being done in a real life setting, not something done behind the scene and behind the camera. Now, in reality, in most of the tutorials you see, it has been cleaned up. Everything is going smoothly. Somebody comes with a template and design it in 2 minutes, and it all looks smooth. In reality, it's not always like that, right? You can spend hours trying to figure out how you want to style it, the kind of color combinations you want to use, how you want to position them, right? Those are the few things that takes your time. In fact, even clean the data itself can actually take days to do, right? But then so in that class, I decided to use one of their own templates, and the template is just quite easy. It's a combination of you using shapes and then colors, right? Even though it has a little bit of processes. So before we actually got to that point of creating templates, we had actually done six previous. We have actually spent 6 weeks learning together, and those 6 weeks, the week where we touched the dashboard was the 7th week. So we have spent 6 weeks, and on the 6 weeks we talked about creating templates for your dashboard design. So it's not as if it's a big deal. Eventually we'll also get there. So then that's not a problem. We'll get to how to actually create some of those templates. Now, what thing I also believe is, I don't believe in giving people templates, right? It's not, you're not going to learn from using a template. That means you can only use that template. You don't even know how to craft it yourself. You don't know how to modify it. So giving you a template means that I am streamlining, or how do I put it? I don't want to use that word. I am keeping you in check. I'm not allowing you to explore, right? Because being able to do it yourself means you know how to change the colors, you know how to use different colors, you know how to use different layouts, different styles, and so on and so forth. So we'll get to how to actually create those templates yourself, by God's grace, if we're still together. So I do hope that answers a little bit those questions. Let's just get started with what we have for today. We are I would like to say you're welcome to today's masterclass on data analysis. Um, and somebody said the best way to predict the future is by analyzing the past, which is why we are here. The best way to predict your future is by analyzing the past. Your organization, your company, your industry have been existing for a number of years, right, or for a period of time. They have been living trails of activities, trails of transactions. They have been making purchases, they have been selling, they have been paying salaries, they have been doing these things, which are trails that can be analyzed, right? If for example, the past 2 years, 3 people, or let's say 7 people have resigned from our organization, we can go ahead and ask and try to find out what is the reason behind their resignation. It could be because of poor pay. If, for example, out of the 7 people that resigned, 5 of them said it's because of poor pay, right? It could mean that for every 10 recruits that we have, 5 may eventually resign also. And so to be able to put a halt to that, we need to understand why these people are resigning. And if we're able to find out why these people are resigning, we are able to profile solution to ensure that they don't continue to resign. It's not a good thing. For example, now the example we just use is more or less a basic and simple one. People resign for different reasons. But then if if your staff are resigning because of poor salary, then there is a problem. And one of the problem is that you do not have, or you will not have, a good name. Now, I want to say this before we go too far into next class. We will not be taking questions during the session until after the session. I'll give you guys the chance to unmute and ask questions. So if you have questions, it's either you drop them in the chat box, you um, or you just hold on, right? Just drop them in the chat box or you write them down somewhere so that when you have the opportunity to unmute, you can unmute yourself. All right. So if your hand is up, you can just lower them because you will not be, you'll not have that opportunity, at least not yet. All right. So without wasting time, here's a little bit of information about me. This is actually an old picture, quite an old picture, anyways. So my name is Timothy, and I am a tech enthusiast, a data analyst, and I do a little bit of programming and website development. I also work as for my day job. I work with Breakthrough Nigeria, which is an NGO, in which is an NGO. And over the past 12 months, I have done well to my team and I have done well to train over 1,200 people on various aspects of tech, both online and offline. So that is little info about Timothy. Now, the major thing why we are here, what is data? Data are facts and figures that we collect and store to help us understand something better. Why are we talking about all of this story? Why are we not getting into the main detail? Why are we not putting our hands on designs and and styling things and talking about charts and things like that? The reason is because um putting the data together may not be putting the charts together may not be the most difficult part of it, but sometimes not knowing the basics can actually put you in a very bad spot, especially if you're the one who is still job hunting, right? If you're the one who is looking to get freelance roles and you don't know the basics, you might actually get into some trouble. So data are facts and figures collected and stored to help us understand something better. Like I said earlier, for the employee attrition that we just talked about, right? Why are they resigning? That's the question, right? So the moment you start to collect the data, you're talking to people and you're finding out why they are resigning. That could actually help you understand better and profile a solution. So in reality, we have three categories of data. We have three categories of data. We have primary data, we have primary and secondary data, we have qualitative and quantitative data, And then we also have structured and unstructured data, which is the last one, structured and unstructured kind of data. So what's our primary and secondary data? Primary data are data that you collect directly from people. You're the one who owns the data. You go to those who are actually affected by it and ask them questions. That is an example of a primary kind of data. For example, I think the other admin, Israel, dropped a form in the WhatsApp group, right? That is an example of a primary data. The data is meant for you guys in the group, and so he shared it directly with you guys. So he's collecting the data directly from the source. An example of a secondary data is a pre-existing data. The data that we collected, for example, if we give it to somebody else, maybe the person only needs the name and the location of you guys, right? If we give it to somebody else, to that person, it is no longer a primary data. It has become a secondary kind of data, right? And secondary data can be journals, can be third-party database, can be articles, and then content from other sources. Those can be examples of secondary data. What about qualitative and quantitative data? Just the way I'm talking right now, it's an example of data. What we're doing right now is an example of data. What kind of data is it when somebody's talking with you? Images, pictures, audios. What kind of data are those? They are qualitative kind of data. If I open your phone, for example, and I see a lot of screenshots, and half of the screenshots are about shoes, what does it tell me? It tells me something about you. You are a shoe freak, or that you are into selling shoes. It's one of those two things. So that kind of data, even though it is not quantitative, you can't count it, it's not measurable per se, it's not in numbers. It gives me an idea of your kind of person. So we put that category, that kind of data as a qualitative kind of data. What about quantitative data? Quantitative data are numerical data. They are measurables. Quantitative data are measurables. These are the kind of data where you talk about these are the kind of data where you talk about numbers. You talk about values. You talk about how do I put it again? For example, if I ask you, how old are you? It's a number. You're talking about your age. You're talking about things. How much do you spend on food this week? For family meal, it's 1,000, it's 5,000, it's 10,000, it's 100,000, right? It's festive period. You spend close to ₦1 million on food and food stuff and food stuff. So that's also an example of a secondary data, right? Sorry, of a quantitative kind of data. And finally, you have the structured and unstructured data. Structured and unstructured data. For your structured data, these are kind of data that are organized and formatted in a specific pattern. For example, your spreadsheet, right? Your Excel workbook is divided into rows and columns. That is an example of a structured data. You have them in specific formats. Why the Another example is also your database, right? If you're working with SQL, it's a database, right? And in your database, contents in your database are divided into rows and columns, even though maybe you may not see them, especially if you're just writing the codes, but then they are divided into rows and columns. For the unstructured data, these are data without a specific format. It's also very similar with qualitative kind of data. Your emails, your WhatsApp status, your content, your posts, audios, music, they are all example of unstructured kind of data, right? So before we go too far, I want you guys to do me a favor, right? We are How many of us are right here? We're about 100 people right here. How about we go invite those still on the WhatsApp group? Let's tell them that class have started. So just go to that group on WhatsApp. I think you can drop a message. Just tell them class have started. Drop it in the comments. The class have started. Class have started. Let me see you guys in the WhatsApp group. Class have started. Let's just do that for 1 or 2 minutes so we can get back in and continue. Thank you, Felix. Sigma, I see you. Class have started. Yes, coach. Coach, I've seen you too. Class have started. Ahmad, thank you. Dr. Tolu. I see my namesake, oh, Dr. Tolu. Anyway, I'm not a doctor, anyways, but I answer Tolu. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Class have started. Thank you. Phineas, I see you. And all right, so for those who cannot join, you can still join up on YouTube. We're also live on YouTube at the moment. We are live on YouTube. Join us on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, everyone, thank you. I think we can come back in so we can finish up in good time. Eshiu, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So let's come back in. Let's come back in. Like I said, tonight's class is not going to be long, and I promise it's going to be interactive. In fact, it's going to be interactive, and you're going to learn at least one thing. You're going to learn at least one thing, if irrespective of your prior knowledge or whatever knowledge you already have about analyzing data. So why do we learn data analysis? Why do we learn data analysis? Thank you, guys. Otito, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's enough. Let's come back in. Let's come back in. So in today's society, companies, organizations, and governments rely on data to make informed decisions. Companies and organizations rely on data to make informed decisions. By learning data analysis, you would be able to learn skills that are in high demand across various industries. And when we say company and organization rely on these skills to make informed decisions, what do we mean? Right? Let me just quickly share with you an example of something that happened to me, right, where I work, right? And I know it's very similar across major companies and organizations. Like I mentioned earlier, I told you I work with an NGO, and one of our tasks is to do a kind of community sensitization, enlighten people on how to cultivate in order to eliminate the spread of tuberculosis, right? And one of the targets also is to get people tested for TB, get people tested for TB, and also get them treated for those who are positive. Now, when the project started, the idea was to talk to everybody. Now, what we're looking at is how how we'll be able to use data analysis in the workplace, right? So when we started, the idea was to talk to everybody, and it's more or less like a scattergun approach. Just talk to everybody, get everybody tested, and then whoever is positive, get them treated. That was the approach at the time. But then, when you spread your efforts across a wide area, you get some results, but it can't be as potent as when your effort is concerted on the major areas. So when we were doing that, we found something out after we begin to analyze our data. Just a few months into the project, we found something out. A particular group of people were testing positive much more than the other group of people, right? Say, for example, if you talk to 20 people, right, we found out that even though of the 20 people, maybe 15 of them were female, only 5 will probably get 2 positive cases, and just from the 15 female, we may just get 1 or no positive case at all. So the data was looking like the data was depicting more men are susceptible to tuberculosis than the women. And so because it has become a trend over time, we cannot take that assumption to be true, right? And so when we take it to be true, we decided to say, okay, now instead of now going to talk to everybody at random, right? We want to focus more on the male population, right? We'll go to farms, you go to male gatherings where you have community meetings and you have more men, right? You go to events where we have more men, locations where you have more men. For example, tricycle riders, bikers, Okada riders, transport associations. This set of people, this set of unions or organizations are dominated by men, right? So the focus switched to just talking to everybody randomly to targeting a specific set of people. Now, this does not mean we don't talk to the rest of the people. Of course, we still do. But then now we are putting more efforts to the population that have been proven to be more viable or to be more susceptible to TB. And when we change this approach this way, over the next 6 months, the results more than tripled. Right, we were able to get more results as a result of the focus in our approach. Right, so using this, we're able to learn something. With data analysis, we're able to improve performance, right? We're able to make better decisions. We're able to minimize costs. Right? It costs almost the same thing to talk to everybody. So with that same cost, why not just, instead of talking to everybody, why not focus on a particular set of people and then get much better results by talking to them? So we're able to achieve that by using data analysis. So as we begun to learn data analysis, you'll be able to do something. You'll be able to make informed decisions based on data insight. Now, I want to emphasize something and I want to stress something in this case. As an analyst, your decision must be based on data insights, not on what you know or what you think is right. Even if what you know, right, is right, and your data, your analysis is telling you something different, please, I want you to support, right, your analysis. I want you to go with what your analysis have told you. If 2 plus 2, everybody knows that it's equals to 4, and you analyze your data and your analysis is correct, and your analysis is telling you 2 plus 2 is not 4, it is 12. Please, in God's name, I want you to go ahead and with your full chest, write it in your report that your data said 2 plus 2 equal 12. So make informed decision based on data insights, identify trends and patterns. You'll be able to solve real world problems and communicate complex ideas effectively. So as a data analyst, you can become any of the following or any of the above. You can take up any of the above job opportunities: monitoring and evaluation, data science, data analyst, researcher, business analyst, and so on and so forth. Right? There are too many job roles for data analyst. So what is data analysis? It is the process of extracting insights and meaning from data. It is the process of extracting insights and meaning from data. And this lists also the three major steps of analyzing a data. Three major steps of analyzing data. Number one is to collect and clean data. In the video tutorial you watch, you would probably see, okay, maybe we didn't really comprehensively talk about data cleaning. But for every data you collect, you must do data cleaning, right? And you can collect data through questionnaires, through surveys, through third-party database, through e-forms also. You would clean them using tools like Power Query, Python, R, or SQL to analyze and visualize your data using Excel, Power BI, Tableau, or R. You would also interpret your results and draw conclusions. And I also shared, I think that reminds me, I also shared a portfolio with you guys in the group. If you probably went through the portfolio, you see some reports. I think there is a data analyst, and I wrote a report about it, right? So you would learn how to do something similar using data as a data analyst. You'll be able to write your report. Okay, somebody said if you're talking about the PowerPoint that I'm using in this class, the slide I'm using in this class, yes, it is prepared with PowerPoint. Yes, you also get the recording. You get the recording of this class later on, or right after the class. Somebody said to me, who spent 2 billion on food monthly? That's our problem. We voted for it, so it's our problem. All right, so you'll be able to interpret results and draw conclusions from your analysis. It's not enough, right? Putting your charts together. It's not enough putting your charts together. One of the few things you must do is to sit down and talk about the process. Where did you get your data from? What were the challenges? How did you clean the data? What were the steps you took to clean the data, right? What were your findings from the analysis? Then, from your findings, what do you conclude? And then as your recommendations to your audience, what do you recommend? What do you recommend to your audience? So those are the key things you want to put into your report. And once you are done with that, you can say boldly that you are done with analyzing your data. So the analysis is not complete until you also attach your report to it. So here are some real-world application of data analysis. In the health sector, you can use it to improve patient outcome and reduce costs. In business, you can use it to increase sales and optimize operations. Environmental science, you can use it to track climate change and conservation efforts. In sports, you can use it to improve team performance and player development. Use it to improve team's performance and player development. Now, over the next 3, 4, 5 slides, I want us to do something together, something really interactive. And it's going to be like this. You're going to look at the slide, look at the chart. You want to assume that this is an analysis that you did, right? Now you want to answer the questions that follows the slide. It's a yes or no question, but I also want you to also attach with your yes or no the reason why you chose yes, or the reason why you chose, or whatever it is your response, right? So just attach your reason to the to your answer. We're going to do that in the comment box, so just get ready. So if you can see my screen clearly, I hope you all can see my screen clearly right now. So if you can see my screen, here's a chart from the Ministry of Health. It is actually health related. Now I did not see this is 100% from the Ministry of Health. For the purpose of this class, this is an health related data. Some people are saying they cannot see my screen. Please, is this a general issue or just for some people? If you can see my screen, let me know. If you can, If you can see my screen clearly, let me know. Ah, you can't see my screen. Okay. I think a number of people can see my screen clearly. If you can't see it, it's probably your network. All right, thank you for those who can see my screen. If you can't see, maybe it is your network. So let's take a look at this chart. I will probably say you go offline and come back in, or so this is a chart from the Ministry of Health showing positive client for Lassa fever. In 2023, right? And Lassa fever is usually caused by eating infected rats or food that has been eaten by infected rats. Now, here's the question. Here's the thing. Rats are most common during the rainy season between March and September. And so in May, the government embarked on massive community sensitization to enlighten people on how to prevent Lassa fever. According to this chart, do you think the government's efforts through community sensitization was effective? Yes or no? Do you think the government's efforts through community sensitization was effective? Yes or no? I see yes, yes it was, no, no they did not. Okay, I'm seeing lots of interesting responses. No, no, no. Why do you say no? Why do you say yes? Why do you say no? Yes, because there was a decline to the positive affected people. Okay, that's according to Kenneth. According to Mark Johnson, he said yes, because the trend goes down the subsequent months that follows. Ah, a lot of people are saying yes because Adedokun said the government's effort was effective because the rate of positive clients was reduced. Ebenezer said yes also. Yes, because there was an obvious decline according to Festus. So nobody that said no wants to explain why they said no. Interesting. Okay, okay, okay. All right. So in reality, it is safe to say that the effort was effective. The effort was effective because the Lassa fever or rats are common between March, which is at this point. Sorry, guys, I don't know what's happening this evening. I really have some kind of itch in my throat. Between March and September, which is on this side. And if this is the peak of rats, of having rats in the community, then that means we should have something that looks like this. But somehow, some way, we start to experience a drop right here, which is also in May when government started the sensitization efforts. And so we notice that there is a decline. So it is safe to say that the decline is as a result of government community sensitization efforts. I remember the effort is to enlighten people on how to prevent Lassa fever. So it is safe to say that our answer is yes. So well done, everybody. For those who said yes, well done. Now, here's the next question. Here is the second question. Let's take a look at this question together. Yes, for those asking if the class will be recorded, yes, it will be recorded. It will be recorded. So Joseph also said, yes, it was effective. Well done. So this is a chart showing profit generated by products sold at Zoran Enterprise. Recently, Zoran is looking to cut down on cost by delisting one of their products. According to this chart, what product would you suggest that Zoran Enterprise should delist? As an analyst, what product should we delist? Peak. There was no profit. Peak. Hey, oh, Stanley said peak. The brother said peak. Samuel said he's not seeing it. And the screen is really visible. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just your network. You may want to log out and come back in. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it better. Amino said peak also. Olajide said peak. Olariwaju said peak. Why are we saying peak? Can somebody give me a reason? Kofi said peak. Adebi said peak. Julius said peak. Olajide said 5%. We should over 5%. Okay. Johnson said peak also. And then Kennedy said because it has low profit, least percentage. Because it shows least generating revenue according to Phineas. Peak because it yielded lower contribution to the others. Profit margin is low. Florence. Profit margin is low compared to other parts, other line of products. We'll come back to this question, to what Florence has just said now, because I'm not sure if that is correct. Let's take a look at what my guys on YouTube are saying. Somebody is asking how the chart was generated. So we generate it using Excel now. And I think we've talked about, you've watched that tutorial on how to create charts like this. So I shouldn't be answering that question again. Emmanuel said lowest profit generated is peak, so peak should be reduced. Kelly said peak is not generating more profit. Peak has lowest percentage according to Obioma. Okay, peak. Everybody seems to come to that conclusion that peak should be delisted. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Now, if you watch that tutorial that I sent to you, I made mention of a reason why you should sort your data, especially if you're using a pie chart. I said something relating to a pie chart. Do anybody remember? Can anyone remember why? Okay, Ebenezer said yes. Can you just put it in the chat box? Why is it important that you sort your data, especially in a pie chart? For clarity of values. Okay, that's true. For clarity of values, it's important to sort largest to smallest. That's true. That is beautiful. Also, easy according to you to visualize large ones from others. Yes. Now, I think the way I put it is something like this. One of the examples I gave is something like this. If you have data, right, and the values are close to each other, I mean, the difference between the values are not much. It's best to sort your data, most importantly, let's say largest to smallest. And the largest one should be the first one, right? Starting from, is it 0 degree or 90 degree now? Starting from the top, right? Um, at the top, 90 degree. Okay, let me put it, I think at 90 degree. That should be where you have your first slice, right? So that means easily, if you're looking at it, you automatically know, even if the values are very similar, you already know which one is bigger, which one is smaller. If for any reason you don't sort them and the values are similar, you will run into trouble, or your audience will run into trouble easily identifying which value is which. Remember, in all of the charts, you may not be able to properly label them like this. So for this case, in the case of this chart, it's actually also sorted. The only difference is it is sorted from smallest to largest. And yes, as for the question, you guys are right. We should delist peak if you are trying to cut costs. We should delist peak if you're trying to cut costs. And the reason is because it is generating the least amount of profit. If you have a product that is contributing 35% of your profits and the one that is generating 5% of your profits, and you're supposed to remove one to cut your cost, at least according to this data that we have, it is best you go for peak. For whatever reason, you may not want to choose peak, but if your data is, if this is what your data report actually gave to you, go ahead and support what you have from your data analysis. Right. So we'll go for the last question. For one more question. And this question is very similar to the previous one. This question is very similar to the previous one. Sorry, guys. Apologies. This chart shows the profits margin for products sold by Zora Enterprise. Peak has the highest profits margin. Now, profits margin and profits are not the same thing. Profits margin and profits are not the same thing. Peak has the highest profits margin and it generates the least profit of all the products listed as seen in the previous chart. Now, here's the dilemma. Zora Enterprise are now saying we don't want to remove peak. Say from your previous analysis, you told them that they should remove peak, but they now look at your analysis further and say, going by this analysis, we don't want to remove peak. Tell us from your expertise, tell us something that we can use to improve the profit generated from selling peak. And give us from this analysis that you have on your screen right now, looking at the profit margin, what are the things you can suggest? Or what do you think we can do to improve the profits that we generate from selling peak? So it's up to you guys. Let me see your comments in the chat box. What can we do? Constance said we should run promo. Oh, that's too like promo. I will. Somebody is not making profits. You want him to go out to go. Hey, Jesus. All right, so run promo is the first one. We'll go. Let others follow. Let others follow. Please give me a moment. Let me quickly get water. I think my throat itch. So let's take a look at what we have in the chat box. Constant say we should run promo. No allow. Reduce the peak profit margin according to Geoffrey. I think I love that. I love that. Advertise and sell more peak. Hmm. Awareness among the customers, reduce the price according to Ferromi, which is impressive. Advertise and run more promo, interesting. Do cost analysis of the cost of production. I thought we've done that. Reduce production, interesting. That's according to Ahmad said we should reduce production. Ebenezer says also the importance of the products to the user. These products not is pig not useful to people. It's milk now. Make more ways to put pig in front of the customers. Reduce the quantity of cowbell so people can look at pig as an alternative when cowbell is finished. From our previous analysis, I hope you realize that cowbell was generating 30 something percent of the total revenue. You want to cut your you want to reduce your best selling product because you want to increase another one. I'm not sure that's a very good idea. Present peak to customer first. Educate people on why they need to compare or why they need peak as compared to other alternative. Delete cowbell, Jesus. Stanley said we should delete cowbell and boost cost of production for peak. I would have said if you had stopped at delete cowbell, I would have said no problem. Now you also want us to boost cost of production for peak. Wow. Create awareness and increase the quantity of a product. It is not all lowest analysis on the charts are low cost. I really don't understand this. It is not all lowest analysis on the chart are low cost though. Okay, I didn't get that clearly anyways. Change the location, product packaging, and advertise. Advertise, rebrand, and reduce the price according to Fisayo. Reduce the profit margin and quantity of peak. All right. I think we spent enough time on this. Let's briefly talk about this. So your profit margin is calculated by percentage, right? And it's the difference between the cost of your product, the cost and your selling price. So if a product has a profit margin of 100%, that means if the cost of the product is the total cost of producing the product is 100 naira, that means you are selling that product at 200 naira. That's 100% profit margin. So now, if you look at this chart, if the cost of producing peak is 100 naira, it looks like you are selling it at around 500 naira. I want you to take that example, that illustration, and rethink it in your head. What do you think this company should do to improve the profits of peak? The other products, for example, oatmeal, if the cost of production is 100 naira, they are selling it for 127 227 naira, right? That's like 127%. For sugar, they are selling it around that 240 naira. For cowbell, they are selling it around 250. For Milo at 267. But for cowbell or for pig, they are selling it around 500 naira. So now I think we are all coming to a very similar conclusion. Reduce the profit margin. People are not interested in pig because of the hike in price. They should actually reduce the selling price. Interesting. So Kennedy said we should reduce the profit margin to about 200%, which would actually be very reasonable, right? Even if for whatever reason we don't want to come down to the level of others, I think a 200% profit margin is really okay enough. I think a profit margin of 200% is fair enough. Now we can use other method, right? But one of the first things you want to do according to your analysis is to reduce the profit margin. You can now talk about things like rebranding, do more advertisements, do community sensitization or whatever it is, you know, and maybe run your promo as you may want to do it. But one of the things I don't want you to do or talk about is taking out cowbell. Cowbell is giving them the highest profit. You don't want to remove a product like that. Instead, you want to keep it and then go for than what exactly the thing we really have business with is peak, right? And we have been able to see from our analysis that the major problem with peak is the profit margin is just too high. And so people, since there's an alternative to peak, now if the price, if it was product like salt, and salt goes from 15 naira to maybe 500 naira, as long as you can afford it, you still buy salt. Except you want to start eating food that does not have a taste. But because peak has a close substitute, which is cowbell, the two of them are milk, they are doing almost the same thing. Many people will not really see the difference and they just leave peak and go for cowbell. So from that, we want to actually reduce the profit margin that we have on peak. Now we're going to take the last question in this segment before we call it a wrap. And this is sports related. Ashanti FC is a financially modest club in the Ghanaian Football League. They are looking to buy a player for the long term who will deliver some goals. Who will deliver some goals. Now they have two players in sight. Player A is 31-year-old and one of the best striker in the league. Player B is 23-year-old who has barely registered 10 goals a season, according to this chart and narrative. Who should Ashanti FC buy, player A or player B? Who should Ashanti FC buy, player A or player B? Hey, whoa. I think we have our first response from Festus. He said, ah, okay, our first, yes, from Festus, he said player B, player B, player, okay, Geoffrey said player A, Phineas said player B, Barry said player B, Michael said, a lot of scholars are in this class. Caller said player A, player B, with age and goal, the goals increases. Fumila said player A for the fact that he's younger. Ahmad, are you sure we're looking at the same data? Emmanuel said player A. Wow, this is gamble. But I go for player B because of the age. This is no longer gamble, right? Because you have a little bit of statistics to back your choice, right? Eventually, nobody knows how it's going to turn out eventually. But based on stats and facts and figures that you have, we cannot really call it gamble per se. Mm. Mustafa said player B will be preferable because player A will soon retire, which means he can't play for a long time. Is that true? I don't know. I would have bought your first line, which is player B is preferable. But you see the rest of the content that you wrote completely do not fall into what we're trying to do here. Player A can decide to play until he's 40 now. Are you going to stop him from playing? Or at least from our analysis so far, I think he will play until he's 36 years old. That's like 5 years from now. I think it's fair enough. Okay. Okay, so I think I want to read what Ibrahim wrote. Considering Ashanti FC's financial constraints and the need for a long-term investment, player B seems more like the prudent choice. He shoots an upward trajectory, offer a higher potential return on investment compared to player A, who may be nearing the end of his peak performance. I think I need to clap for Ibrahim on this one. See, you've if you write this in your report, see, forget about it. Your either your employer or your client or whoever is reading your report. See, you've worked the person already, and I think you've actually summarized this chart. You've perfectly summarized it, and that's the truth, right? We want to look at the since we are financially modest and we are considering the long term. We want to look for who is younger and at least is still scoring some goals. It's not as if it doesn't score any goals at all. It's scoring some goals. So I want to look towards player B because player A, even though at the moment is at the peak, he only has probably one more year at the peak before he runs out of steam. So that means if you look at this chart right now, player A is somewhere around here, right? This is where we have player A. He only has one more year in the at the top, which is somewhere around here. Now, because we're talking about long term, we may want to look at 3, 4, 5 years or 6 years. If you add 6 or 5 years to this person, to player A, let's say 5 more years, it's going to be 30. It's going to be 36 years old, and at 36, his performance would have declined so much that he will only be scoring about 6 goals per season, right? He only has one more year at the top. But for player B, he is around 23-year-old at the moment, so he's somewhere around here. This is a very poor return at the moment. It's still very small compared to player A. But the truth is, if you add 5 more years to player B, he is going to be around 28-year-old. And at 28, this is where he's going to be on the chart. And that will mean around 27 goals per season. And you can see that over the next 5 years, he is on the upward trend. So we can confidently say if we buy player A, we would get at least 5 solid years from him. And if the club now even decides that 5 years is small, we want to take him for 7, 8, 9 years, he still has 7 more years to play, at least comfortably banging goals for the club. So the most prudent choice would be to go for player B. Now, let me quickly say this. I really love the way Ibrahim has put this into writing, right? And that's just because eventually, if you're writing your report, you want to be able to put your thoughts, your findings, even though your findings is in numbers, is in charts, is in pictures, you want to be able to put them in words, right? As to clearly convey your thoughts, to clearly convey your decision or what you found in words to your audience, right? Even though as much as possible to you're using a chart that is self-explanatory, you still want to be able to without mincing word or losing value of your word or of your findings without you losing the value of the content. You want to be able to put it in words clearly to your audience. So well done, Ibrahim. So let's go for that. So thank you everyone for attempting this little interactive section. Let's see how more or how far we can add to it. This is a sport question. I would just want us to skip it because of our time. I hope you guys can bear with me. So, but I can leave it for you guys to see it in the. If you want to attempt it, no problem. But I would not want to. to dwell much on this. All right. So there's a growing demand for data analysts all over the world, and in this course, we'll be exploring data analysis together and we'll learn how to extract data and communicate findings effectively and develop skills that will benefit you in your future careers. And by the end of this course, you'll be able to ask insightful questions, analyze data to find answers, present your findings with confidence. So this is what we'll call it a wrap for the first part of this class. Now, like I said earlier, this class, um, to really complete this class on Excel and Power BI, because those are the two major tools we're going to be using, it's going to take us 10 weeks, right? And in those 10 weeks, for example, the class where I sent you the tutorial was actually was it the 8th or the 7th week? I'm not really sure. I think the 7th week of our lesson. And that means we've done some things from the beginning, from basic introduction to Microsoft Excel for those who have no prior knowledge of using the software but still want to learn. We spent about 7 weeks trying to lay the foundations, right? But then, so on the 7th week, that was when we actually got to that point where we're cleaning, where we're visualizing data. And like I said, even in that same tutorial, um, we've not even gone on to one of the most important parts of data analysis, which is data cleaning. And you can only do that properly or professionally using Power Query. So put all of those together, it's going to take us about 8 weeks to learn. And for that 8 weeks lesson, I think we both know that it's going to also take some resources to put together. So let's see what we can do from here. I'm coming. I'm just trying to share a different screen. Sorry, hold on a minute. I'm trying to share a different screen. So like I said, 10 weeks of learning is what is going to take us in total. And here's a big question. If you would like to really commit to these 10 weeks of learning, now the question is your tutor ready? The tutor is absolutely ready. Myself and the team are ready. But the question is, can you or will you also commit to learning over this 10 weeks period? So let me ask you that question, and I want to see your comments in the chat box. Would you like to become a pro data analyst, like be a pro at analyzing data yourself? Let me see your response in the chat box. Somebody said our area of interest is Power Query and dashboard. I've sent you the tutorial on dashboard, except you just want to still find some more interesting chat and visuals that you want to add to your dashboard. And I see a lot of yes in the chat box. Yes. That's my goal in 2025. And I think that's really a beautiful goal according to Ola Iwaju. It's a really beautiful goal. So there are actually two methods to learning data analysis. You can actually do a self-paced learning. I don't really want to call it self-paced learning, right? Because even though it's looking like self-paced, this is you learning by yourself without no help, without no guide, right? And the second option is you learning with a tutor, with somebody holding you by the hand, right? Which is the second option. Now, for any of these two options, you're welcome. Now, in this class, we're going to be making use of Excel and Power BI. Those are the two major tools that we'll be working with. Now, there are other softwares for data analysis. You have R, you have SQL, you have Python, you have Tableau. But then for us in this class, we'll be using Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Power BI. Those are the two most common, at least for everybody. You should have these two knowledge to be able to analyze and visualize any kind of data that you have. And these are some of the things we'll be looking at: introduction to Excel, basic functions and formulas, um, data preparation and Power Query, data visualization, analysis techniques, modeling and dashboard, formulas, data storytelling, and your final project. Yes, we're going to be writing a project. And this, all of this together, we're going to be piling them into 10 weeks of learning on Excel and Power BI. Now, even though we said this class is going to be a live lesson or live lecture, let me put it this way. That is, a live lecture does not mean you do not put in effort into it, right? The goal here is that you go on your own learning dashboard, right? And then you read, you study, you watch the tutorials. Then we come to class, we just have a discussion around what you've learned. We have a discussion around what you've learned. For example, if you watch any of the tutorials, I know you would have questions. What I expect is go ahead and practice what you've learned, because all the questions, all the modules comes with questions and answer. Now go ahead and practice what you've learned. Questions that arise from that, bring it to the class. Then we'll see how we can solve it together. Then we can call it a wrap. But then if all you want to do is to wait and then just abandon the whole thing until it's another weekend of lecture, it's not going to work for any of us. So over these 10 weeks, we have 2 hours on Saturdays. We're going to be getting practice questions every week. We're going to be having a question and answer period from these 2 hours also. You'll also be getting weekly recordings of all of these sessions, and we're going to be using Google Meet for our lectures also. So this is what you really get from this class. If you're looking to learn this fully, for example, for me, if I'm teaching anybody, let's say one-on-one class, you're learning Microsoft Excel from beginner to pro, it is worth about 45,000. Data cleaning with Power Query is worth about 40K. Data modeling about 25,000. Power BI alone worth about 25,000. Learn DAX queries about 20,000. Now, to get detailed recordings, practice questions, assignments, and your personalized dashboard cost about 45,000. 10 weeks or 20 hours of practical lessons cost about 100,000. And I think I just charged somebody something similar this week, right? I think this week. If you want personal class and then you want to sit me down for 20 hours to be teaching you, maybe this is the least amount I should actually be charging, 100K. We'll also be learning how to make use of AI as a data analyst. You also get internship opportunity, and then there is also certificates for you after conclusion, totaling about 317,000. But then, can I really charge you 317,000? That is a big no. So here's our current price. It goes for 50,000 naira as of today. But it's festive period, and it's Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. So for the first 20 students to sign up for tonight's class, we're going to be giving discounts. It's actually 30,000 at the moment, but for the first 20 students, we'll give you the opportunity to make payments for just 20,000 naira. The extra 10,000 is for the Merry Christmas. It's the period in time, right? So for first 20 students to make payment for this class, to sign up for this class, we're going to be charging 20,000 naira only. And once the 20 slots are up, we can revert back to at least 30,000, which is our regular price at the moment. at 30,000 naira, which is also the same thing as 300 Ghana cedis or 330 Ghana cedis, depending on the exchange rate. So now, if you want to take up this offer, you want to take up this slot, send a message, a DM right now on WhatsApp. I want to make payments. Just that sentence alone, I want to make payments, so that you can get the payments details. And I think Israel will also share it with you in the group. So if you want to take up any of the slots, any of the 10 slots that we have available, if you want to take up any of the 20 slots that we have available, type in the word "I want to make payments" right now. Send it to me on WhatsApp. You get payment instruction, and once all 20 slots are taken, the price reverts back to 30,000 naira. So now this is not just it. We would also have you also get for these first 20 students, you also get a portfolio. And I think I shared a sample with you in the WhatsApp group. For these first 20 students, you would also get a tutorial on how to create your own portfolio. Now, what do you use a portfolio for? A portfolio is a digital space that showcases what you do, what you are able to do, your past projects to a potential employer or a potential client without disruption. You can use any social media app for your portfolio, but why we don't use it for portfolio is because social media has a lot of noise, right? If I go through your page on social media, from there I can begin to see other videos, other reels, other content that distract me from seeing what you want me to see. But if you have a portfolio, you can use that. Whatever it is that you want your clients to see is what exactly they're going to see without being distracted. So for these first 20 people also, they get to get this tutorial on how to create their own portfolio. Also, now for our pre students, this is an example of what they get for our reviews, because we review assignments every week. We review assignments that you submit every week, and this is what it looks like. Also, we are giving 100% money back guarantee. At the end of these 10 weeks, if you sit in class and you come to class for these 10 weeks and you're unable to analyze it at the end of the day, right, for whatever reason you come to class, you're unable to get value for your money, it means we have failed you. So we're going to refund your money if that is the case. Just show us proof that you attended 10 classes, and that will be all. You'll get full refund of your money at the end of the day. So that being said, 10 slots, 20 slots right now for 20,000 naira only. Now, this is our website, and I'm going to show you. Let me quickly show you some of my students. Some of the data or reports from some of our students. And I think this lady, somebody shared something with me, I think today. I saw it today, and I want to just let me briefly share it with you guys. Let me share it with you guys. What's her name? What's her name? What's her name? Okay. In fact, two of them shared, and you can see she's trying to share me our reports, and this is somebody's report, right? It's not perfect yet. In fact, when this lady started with us about 2 months ago, she is this kind of person that will ask questions that, where do you have this button, right? She's more or less like, she couldn't even tell me what version of Office she was using for you to know how the kind of novice she was. In fact, I had to message her. I still want to confirm if it was you that was pretending to have no prior knowledge of Excel before when you joined, right? This was one of the messages, or the message I replied out with. Right? So now this is how far she has come. This is not perfect yet. It's still looking very dirty and unclean, right? But then eventually she's gonna get there, because I'm going to review this and put some corrections back to her. Let me also show you one other student. What's her name again? I think this person shared a report with me yesterday in my DM. Miriam. Miriam. Now you can see this is the response I gave to her. This is the response I gave to her after seeing the dashboard that she submitted. And this is the dashboard that she submitted. Let me attempt to see if I can open it. Oh, this is somebody else's assignment. But let me go back to the dashboard. This is for Miriam. All right. Now, these people are submitting some kind of report that I feel it's not the best yet, right? Which is very okay. It's my job as a teacher to look at it, to review it, and help them make corrections, which we're going to do. And eventually, I'm sure they will come up with better, far better designs than this one. This is also somebody else's report. This is from is it Oyin? Have you coin Solar? What's her name again? This is from one of that students again. It's a different report from the first one you viewed, and you can see what our own report looks like. These are how people trying. It's almost the same data sets, but then in different methods. Eventually, they'll come up with better designs. Now, if you are joining this class, I think I have received about 3 or 4 people have made payments already. Now, if this slot passes you by, if the slot passes you by and unable to make payments, price reverts back to 30,000 naira, for which we would not be able to do anything about it. For which we will not be able to do anything about it. So please, if you have made payment, I want you to send me a DM or send a DM containing your full name, your email, and your phone number, where we're going to create a dashboard for you. And I'm going to show you what the dashboard looks like in about 2 minutes. Trying to see what the dashboard looks like. Now, if you go on the website, the link that we shared with you, this is what it looks like at the moment. You can see the price, 30,000 naira on the website. And now you can see this is a review from the same happiness that was saying plenty things that sends that report anyways. So, but then I need to log into this account so you can see what the dashboard looks like. What's going on? Okay, so training starts in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now, and it's usually over the weekends around this time on Saturdays. The training is usually over the weekends around this time on Saturdays. So this is this person's account. I want to access the course. And then you can see what each module look like. All I need to do is to press play from here, and I can begin to see what is inside each content. Right, this is us talking about pivot table on this side. All right, and you can see the practice question attached to this pivot table. This is us talking about interactive dashboard. This is us talking about charts. We have different kind of styled charts, and this is a gauge chart. This is an example of a chart that we're talking about in this particular tutorial. So if you're joining this class, you also get access to this particular learning dashboard. Now let me show you this portfolio the one I shared with you earlier. Let me share with you my portfolio so you also see what it looks like. If you're creating a portfolio, you can see in detail, it just displays what I do. And this is a data that I did on relating to Titanic. You can see the dashboard right here. This is about COVID-19 vaccination. You can see the report right here. And all you need to do is to click on view this project to see a detail, to see more detail about this particular project. Right, so this is what you also get if you're making payments and joining this class tonight. So I think we've had or I've talked extensively about what you get for this class. I'm willing to take um, questions right now. If there are questions, we'll take I think we'll take 2 or 3 questions and then we can call it a night. So if you want to ask questions, please go ahead, raise your hand. I will give you the opportunity to unmute. If you want to ask questions, okay, so I see God's power. Is your hand up? If your hand is up, you can go ahead and unmute. God's power blessing. Okay, I think he's not here. What about trend updates if you're here? Trend
Yes, I'm
updates.
here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for
Good evening,
having
sir.
me. I, I am actually privileged to come across this opportunity. So I think this has been in my mind to actually get into it. I'm a business manager and I've actually been working with large or commercial teams for a while. So I understand a bit of data analysis and probably been using some to sort the performance for my team members. So I want to really dive into it specifically for the need I have in the business area, which is to drive my performance and then make informed decisions about what is going on within the team and the product. So I don't know if there will be need for me to know everything, which of course would mean that I'm actually chasing a career in data analysis, or is there any specific curriculum that can address my own need, being that I just want to know the area that applies to my field and not so much bothered about going advanced into it. I don't know if there's something you have to say around that because I already know too much. So there are so many other things I'm looking at learning, which of course the data analysis, if I go advanced, it will just look like I'm just going to learn everything and not being specific about the area which channels my overall goal.
Okay, okay. How do I put this now? How do I answer that? So you have a business or you're into business and you work with things. Um, how do I put it now? So I'm just trying to look at it depending on what part of the business you're trying to look at. If you're looking towards financial analysis, I know it's quite different. It's more or less like a subset of data analysis. And so the approach to doing financial analysis is slightly different from regular data analysis, right? So
Oh, okay. Let me be specific to what I want to use it for. Like someone who is like a sales manager or head of a department, head of sales. So we have people that are working under me directly, managers and people who are also the field guys who are working and sending this report. And we have data that we use to drive their performance on Excels. But then there could be something more in terms of analyzing those data and making informed decisions around it. So if there are ways to be very good with pivot tables and probably the dashboards to be able to analyze this data very well to drive their performance, so that everybody will see where they are at and how much effort they can put to be able to meet up to the team's expectation. So it's basically about driving sales performance of team members, so not about
Okay.
finance.
Okay. So that's much more better. All right. So we can put it like this: you have a business and you have teams, and you want to improve their performance, right? Now, if you're doing analysis or something like that, you want to have your a dashboard, and what you're focusing on in your dashboard is to look at team's performance. That should be the basics or the objective for your analysis in that case, and then you want to design it in such a way that for your team members, right, you have their performance on the front page, on the home page. For example, for some dashboard, you have multi-page dashboard. The dashboard have multiple pages, and on the home page, in this case, you just want to have it for your team performance, where you can is the first thing you see. And if you want to now go further and look at other aspects of your businesses, you can have those ones on page 2, page 3 of your dashboard, right? So, but then on days where you don't want to go too deep, you just want to have an overview, and every team member can actually clearly see what their performance looks like without even stressing. Because remember, once you've created a dashboard, all you just need to do is to press a refresh button or feed in the data, and it automatically updates, and everybody sees what their performance looks like over the time frame. I think something like that actually happened in one of the data that I analyzed. For example, I'm just going to share it as pictures because I don't want to go start looking for it. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to pull this up for. So you can see it clearly. Let me just open it as a spreadsheet. Sorry about that. Multi-paged. So what I'm trying to pull out from here is so we for us where I work, we actually work across multiple local governments, in fact in the whole state, right? And that actually means there are local governments that performs better than some other local governments. So how do you measure performance for these people? Right? Because everybody, if you just lump it up together, people will start looking at they won't some people will not pull their weight, and they will find out that some local government, because if you don't dig into it, some local government will be like, the state is doing well, so I'm not concerned if my own local government, other people are pulling and putting more effort than some other people. So if you look at this dashboard, you would notice somewhere beneath right here, you will notice somewhere right here that Makurdi local government, which is the state capital with the highest population. Anyways, this actually has to do with COVID-19 vaccination. Look at the state capital, the most populous part of the state records the least number of people vaccinated and people sensitized relating to COVID-19, right? Now, if you look at this, it's clearly showing something. One of the things that is showing could be negligence on the part of whoever is in charge of that local government. And that's probably because every other local government is doing well. The whole state, we can say the whole state is doing well. They vaccinated at least 10% of the people that they sensitized. But because there's a dashboard, you can actually open everybody's yash, or everybody can see, pardon me for that, everybody can see where their flaw is without actually stressing about it. Right? They can see what their performance will look like. So now, in this case, if you're looking at it by population, the most populous local government in the state has the poorest results. So easily we can call this person to order and see what is going on in your local government. And this person, you don't even need to tell plenty story. It is clear to everybody who is looking at this data that this local government has very poor performance in this particular month. So I feel in a way it's something you can really implement in your own business, and it's going to help you do better. And I hope that that answers your question a little bit.
Okay, so what you mean is that I will need to start the class from the scratch and then follow through to the point
Okay,
where I
so
will get to this.
I will not say that if your goal is to just focus exactly on this. So the module, everything is coupled together. I can actually pick out for you uh, pages that solely relates to dashboard creation and data analysis, because obviously there's some part of the tutorial that just deals with using Microsoft Excel. There are part of the class that just deals with using Microsoft Excel and so on and so forth, right? So for you, you can skip those parts if you're very familiar with those and just get down into those places that are really necessary. For example, pivot tables, for example, Power Query, for example, visualization, for example, Power BI. Once you're able to talk about those 3 or 4 parts of your analysis tutorial, I think you're good enough. And since you're the one doing it or using it for your organization, we don't need to talk much about storytelling. So I think that should do it for you.
Okay. Okay, so I'm good to go. I should go and make payment, right?
Of course you are. If now I must say this now because it's a group, right? Now each student have access to a learning dashboard with all of these videos pre-recorded cleanly, not like the one I shared between the group now. If you're one of those who wants to do a self-paced learning, you want to go ahead of others, that means I may not be able to 100% follow up with you. Now, that does not mean if you have questions, you don't bring it. Of course, if you have questions, you have challenges while doing your self-paced learning, I encourage you to still bring it to the class. In fact, everybody's encouraged to do a self-paced learning. That's the thing. But then, uh, depending on your pace, we may not be at the same pace at the same time. So just to bring your questions to the class. We'll solve it together. All right, thank you very much. So if you're still there, like I said, we have 20 slots, and I think about 8 of the slots have been taken at the moment. Once all 20 slots have been taken, our price is reverts back to 8 price. Let me see. Do we still have any more questions? I think Ola Riwaju has a question. Ola Dili wants to pay.
Yes, I have a question. I have a question because I'm actually aching to go.
All right.
Yes, I was saying that I want to make payments. However, I'd like to just clarify some of the things. Number one, I was asking that because I don't have the Excel knowledge actually. So one of my concerns is that that's the foundation, and I hope it will be treated well enough for me to be able to know how to use it for analysis rather. And then I was also, because like I wrote there, that's part of my goals for the year. Next year is okay. I just want to move to data analytics completely. Like I want to be data analyst. So I'm just hoping that this will be pivotal to me achieving that goal. And I think you have said that classes are weekends alone, right? And it's
Yes,
one
it is.
day.
Yes, it is.
And it's one day a week. So would we be
Yes.
able to cover all of them in 10 weeks with the one day a week?
So let's go back to, I think let's go back to the beginning. Even though we are meeting once a week, right? I am not expecting every student to wait for the one day a week before he goes to learn. In fact, the idea here is everybody have access to a learning portal where you get all the recordings, right? Everybody's expected to go online and watch the recordings. That's the idea. Go ahead. It has been divided into modules from module 1 to about module whatever it is. Watch each of those modules, especially if you're a beginner. From the beginning, it's actually for beginners. Module 1 and 2 is for beginners, but up to 3 is about functions. Before is also about functions. So if you are in any of those categories, I expect that you go ahead and watch those tutorials in those modules. Once you have watched those tutorials in those modules, now for the weekend class, for each module, we just talk about questions that you have relating to those modules. We will solve them, right? Each of those modules also come with practice questions or assignments. Now, if any assignment proves to be difficult, then we'll just revise and solve them again. Then we'll just briefly talk about the content for the next class, briefly explaining whatever it is in those modules, right? So the idea is here is not for me or the tutor to come to the class and come and be teaching you word for word, verbatim, how to click on this and click on that. That would not really help any of us, because there's no way, even if we are doing a 4 hours class per week, there's no way you cover all of Excel and Power BI in 10 weeks. So the idea is for you to go ahead and watch some of those tutorials on your own. You come to class, we discuss it, treat assignments, treat questions, and we'll move forward from there.
All right, thank you. That answers my question. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Yes, we get help on elementary gears. There are the tutorials actually from beginner to pro level as it relates to Excel and Power BI. So the videos are not even something that I can actually send to the group. Yeah, as you can see, it's more or less like a web portal. What I shared with you in the group is more or less just a recording from one of those classes. It's not as if the modules are sendable. No, they are embedded in the website, and you only go there to access it and watch the tutorials from there. Is there any other hand? Okay, so it looks like questions have been answered. We no longer have a question. So if there are still questions, go ahead. This is the opportunity now to ask. And once all questions have been taken, I think we can call it a wrap for the night. 20 slots. Once 10 slots have been taken, price reverts back to 30,000. Ebenezer, you can go ahead and unmute, please.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for the lecture. Please, I want to ask for the modules, how are we going to get access to it, or we need to make payment before we get access to the modules? Sir? That's my question.
Okay. I thought I just answered that question. So for the modules, it's actually a paid platform. I'm also paying for the platform also, so we are sharing the cost together. So once you make payment, you'll be provided share your email, phone number, and your full name. You would also be added to the account. An account will be created for you where you can also log in to watch your tutorials.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, so we can call it a wrap for the night. Thank you very much, everyone. And I think this is just a reminder that 2025 is fast approaching. I see somebody said the other time that it's his or her goal to master data analysis in 2025. This is actually a time for any of us to make that decision and to follow through with that decision. So that being said, if there are no questions, I think we can say good night from this side, and I would see you guys during the week on the WhatsApp group. Thank you, everyone.